Welcome back to Talk with Flea. Listen, man, I got some nostalgia on the show today. Yeah, nigga from my era. Not only a nigga from my era, thorough nigga from my era, not just in the street, music, politics, business, real estate, legislation. Listen, man, we got my brother on the show, and we gonna get into it all. Shyne Poe. Shyne, what up, baby? What's good?
What's going on?
How you doing?
I'm great, man.
Oh, man, I'm doing real good. Yo, listen, man, it's probably been, it gotta be at least, damn, we getting old, 26 years, 27,
yeah, like
27 years, because I remember.
You talking about 1998.
Right, so, because a lot of people don't know.
What, 28 years is what, 2025?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Since I've seen you.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people probably don't know. I remember, and I'm going to give this for the audience that's watching, is that when Shyne was coming out, it was like really a big bidding war. And maybe not for you, or maybe you could testify to this. I just remember I was signed with Entertainment, and Bad Boy wanted you, and they was like, yo, it's this nigga that sound like big. And you got to think about the people I'm around, Jacob York, all of Bed-Stuy, Biggie's friends and everybody else. And they was just so amazed, like, yo, this nigga's nice, man. This nigga sound like big. And we got to get this nigga. And now, mind you, giving you my point of view, I'm the only artist over this. So I'm like, hold the fuck on. We can't just be getting everybody up here. I'm a little jealous now. Because now I see where this is looking like it's turning into an all Brooklyn thing if they had ended up doing the deal with you. So it's been a minute, and I never shared that with you because I remember a lot of people wanted to sign Shyne because he was really, really hot in the streets.
Yeah, Un was definitely one of those people. I remember going to the Hip Factory. He used to have the Hip Factory locked out. Y'all used to have it locked out all the time.
Yeah.
And I remember going up there, spitting for him. But, you know, he hit me with the Mind Jedi, like, you know, yeah, well, I don't know. Because before the bidding war really started out, it was a slow season. Like it was a strike when I first got with my guy Manny, Monty Haley, and Don Pooh, you know, Brooklyn Chop House. I got with them in like August, August '97. But then it was like a stretch, like a 6-month stretch where everybody was like, yeah, he hot. But nothing wasn't happening. And Un was one of those meetings where he was like, yeah, you know, you hot, but and it wasn't until I met with Chris Lighty. Chris Lighty's the one, God bless his soul, that really set it off. When I went to rap for him, in Varick Street, Def Jam Varick Street. And once I rapped for him, I think that's when Swiss Beats just came out. He put the Swiss Beats DAT tape. You remember these youngins, these Gen Zs don't know what a DAT tape is, but he put the DAT
trust
tape.
me, I listen, Shyne. I didn't have a DJ. My first 2 years of shows was all off DAT. Yeah. I had to take a DAT and a backup DAT, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
So Lighty put in the DAT tape, and you know, Swiss had the smoke, and you know, I just went in, and Lighty lost it. You know, he lost it. He took me into Leor's office, and that was it. You know, that's what really set it off. You know, and then everybody wanted to sign Shyne. But obviously, you know, I always felt a way about the comparisons because I was just being me, right? You know, you listen to me now, 25 years later, I still, you know, got the baritone, and it's just me. But obviously, everybody that come out, they got to put them with someone. You know, when Kobe come out, they put him to Jordan. You know, when, you know, other artists come out, they're like, well, you know, he remind me of this person or he remind me of that person. So I worked very hard to separate myself and to not be compared with anybody and to try to establish myself, not taking anything away from, you know, being compared to the greatest of all time, but that goes both ways, right? I
Right.
prefer to be compared as a great, but not to be
Right.
compared for, well, he sounds like, or his style is like. I really worked hard to try to distinguish myself. And if you listen to the Shyne album, you could tell that, that's all Shyne. And definitely on the Godfather Buried Alive album, I really think I moved totally into my own zone, different flows every song, and no flow sounding like any other rapper. Not just the greatest rapper, but nobody. So I worked really hard for that.
Yeah, 100%. Because that was going to be one of my questions, and you kind of answered it. But I would like a yes or no. Did it? Because you answered it, but did it irk you to be compared to Big? Because you like, I get what you're saying. This same now. Listen, same thing for me, Shyne. Listen, you talk about and I had to hear Biggie every day. I had to. I don't even have to tone this him or nothing, but I had to listen. This is the way Big was said. This is the way Big was said, and he would have it. And I'm like, I can be Cam. That's all I could be is Cam. Did it irk you or bother you when people would compare you to Big?
Well, what it did, it inspired me. It inspired me to, as I said, to distinguish myself. I never forget my guy Nigel Talley. I met him through Mace.
Shout out to Naj.
Yeah,
Yeah, shout out to
I
Naj.
met Nige and Tone, Big Tone.
Yeah,
Um,
shout out to Tone. Yep,
yeah,
Tone and Naj, absolutely.
yeah, our BX guys. So I met him on Mace tour bus, or I think it was a No Way Out tour bus, and he became one of my day one guys. And he used to be in the studio telling me, you from Brooklyn, you from the streets, like you shine, like let them. They got to know Shine, like this is not about anybody else. And that was important to me because they wasn't saying like, oh, he's like big because he's great, or he's like big because of his skill set. It was the baritone and getting in the studio and learning the studio and becoming free to be yourself. It's amazing. It's a real navigation. Some people get it off the rip. It took the criticisms and it took the crucifixion. I feel like I was being crucified by some people because some people took it the other way. They was like, "Who's this guy?" God bless the dead. Big just passed away, and at the time, Puff didn't have the best reputation. So it's like, what is he trying to do here? Is he trying to remake? Is he trying to, bring BI back? So there was a lot of that, it was real nasty. So for me, but what it did for me is the same thing as what I'm going through now with my political opponents.
So listen, Shyne, we know after you did your time for the case that you had, we'll talk about some of that later. We're not going to get into a bunch of messy shit. We rather talk about positive shit, but we will visit that. People who know you and who followed your journey, and for those who didn't follow your journey, we know that you got extradited to Belize. And since then, you became exactly what when you got there? Because some people say prime minister, they don't know if it's Congress, they don't know if you're president. It's a lot of confusion, but they know Brooklyn Shyne. Shyne got deported, not extradited, pardon me, I used the wrong word, deported to Belize. You got there, it seemed like you were about to start rapping when you got there, because I was looking at some shit when you was like on a bike on a dirt road and you was spinning. I'm like, oh, this might get dangerous. This nigga, he sound better than when he went to jail. Could you explain your journey from the time you got deported from America and then where you're at now as far as the country Belize is concerned?
Yeah, so when I got deported, definitely I had all intentions of returning to the music industry, but not being in the States definitely devastated that. And I think, it's interesting. Now I have a extraordinary ability visa, which is, for people with, Grammy nominations and people that have, critical acclaim internationally. And while I had that back then, I just didn't have the courage or the confidence to navigate those waters. I'm so traumatized and so devastated just coming out of being held in captivity. I didn't want to go through the trauma of being rejected again and not being able to get back. So, I was working on some music. I got to give kudos to my guy, hip hop. Hip hop was one of the first people to come down there. Hip hop, he was A&R for Rockefeller. And he was one of the first people to come down there because him and G came to see me when I was G
G Robeson.
Robeson, when I was incarcerated. They wanted to sign me. So the bidding war that we had initially, we had an even greater bidding war when I was up top. It was Dr. Dre, Jay-Z coming to Rikers Island in the Maybach when the Maybach first came out. Everybody wanted to sign me. But so G. Robeson and hip hop came all the way to Clinton Denimora to sign me. I ended up going with Kevin Lyles and Def Jam. But we kept that relationship. So when I got out, hip hop came to Belize. I had, leased out this penthouse and he built a studio there and he just camped out. But the problem was I lost my voice. While I never lost my pen game and, all of the analogies and double and triple entendres, my voice, it just wasn't there. That confidence, that conviction, that passion, it wasn't there. I was beaten. I was broken. I was devastated. I didn't even know it. It's like coming from Vietnam, coming from Iraq, coming from war, and you shot, but you're numb with adrenaline, and all you know to do is get to safety. And until you get to safety, then you realize that you're hit. And I think that's what happened to me when I came out. And I think another thing is I came out with a lot of negativity. When I came out, I was going at 50. I was going at Diddy. I was going at Drake. I came out on a real Tupac fashion, Tupac-esque approach. And I think that was dangerous. And I think so God, I'm a very spiritual person, not religious. I think the creator, he wasn't happy with that, because I spent 10 years on a spiritual journey, 10 years, practicing Judaism, 10 years preparing for liberation. And then I came out with a negative energy that could have jeopardized my freedom all over again. And so, I think that had a lot to do with my voice not being strong and me not being, Shyne Poe that everybody knew and loved. And then, the record with DJ Khaled, respect to him. This was before he was flying the private planes. He was getting ready to take, listen, no, he was getting ready to take a boat
Yeah.
to Belize. He was the president of Def Jam at the time. This before, I think he was the president of Def Jam, before Jay-Z was the president of Def Jam, or after
Mhm.
Jay-Z left. This is after Jay-Z left Def Jam. He became the
Okay.
president of Def Jam. And he wanted to sign me as well. And so as soon as I signed, he was like, listen, I'm getting on the boat. I need you to do this record. Record was with, I believe, Movado. And then the
Okay.
record leaked, but then I didn't sound like Poe. So when I got to Belize, I lost my voice. I
Mhm.
had to deal with Def Jam, multi-million-dollar deal with Def Jam. I went to Mexico City to shoot one of the videos for the album that was gonna come out. And I still practice Judaism, still an Israelite. So every year while incarcerated, I always say next year in Jerusalem, next year in Jerusalem. So I was out, it was Rosh Hashanah. We just had Rosh Hashanah this week. I still observe it. So when I was in Mexico, I said, you know what? Let me take a quick trip to Jerusalem. I've been incarcerated 10 years. I used to always say every year, next year in Jerusalem, let me go to Jerusalem. Then I'll come back. I never came back. That's when I went
Right.
down there and you saw me with the side curls and the hat. And
Yeah.
I just went off on a spiritual journey. I liken it to Malcolm X. I liken it, to there's a guy named Bunny Weller that was Bob Marley's right hand. Even Bob Marley himself,
Yes.
because he went from wearing suits like me, to becoming a Rasta. So I think we all go through
Right.
that phase. But for me, what a lot of people don't understand is mental health and being emotionally sound was more important for me than anything, because being held in captivity for 10 years for something that you didn't do, your co-defendant snitching on you, losing everything, that's enough to drive someone insane. So when I came out, holding on to my spirituality was important. So long story short, I went to Israel 2 years. I learned and studied what I needed to. I came to the conclusion that, you know what, religion is a farce for the most part, because you have people that pretend to be religious, look religious, dress religious, speak religious, but they're the most evil people in the world. And that counts for Muslims, Jews, Christians, anybody could fall into that category. I'm not targeting anyone. But what I realize is I don't need to be religious. I don't need to have on these garbs. I don't need to look the part. What's the most important thing is to have integrity, which I always had, to be honest, to have compassion, to be tolerant, to just be a stand-up individual. That's my religion. Keep your word, tolerate people, help people, lift people up, empower people. That's my religion. And I didn't need anything else because I found myself very isolated as an African American Caribbean. I found myself, alone. A lot of people had all types of questions, and I'm like, man, listen, I left a multi-million-dollar deal to come down here to be closer to God, and you asking me a million questions. We're supposed to be one people, regardless of race, trying to be closer to the Most High. So I got up out of there. I still, visit, but I do it on my own. Like I'm not there for the religious people. I'm not there for the non-religious people. That's one of the holiest places, in my opinion, the holiest place in the world for all people, Christian, Muslim, Jews. And so I still stay connected to it. But I went back to Belize after I spent a little time in Paris. I was in Paris, and what was happening in Paris, I was
So when you not to cut you off, just so we're following, making sure we're following.
2010, I went to Israel
Okay.
literally just like for the week and never came back. And so from 2009 to like 2011, 2010 to 2012, I was in Israel. Then I went over to Paris when I was transitioning from, that ultra religious lifestyle to, a secular, regular, back to Sean Poe. But what was happening in Paris is, I was trying to get back into the music, but I still, the fire just wasn't there, or I had the fire, but it wasn't lighting it up, right? And so Drake would come to Paris, invite me to the show. I'd be in the room, I'd be backstage, and nobody would ever say, listen, why don't you sign the OVO? Hove would come to Paris, invite me to Bercy, he'd take me to dinner, everything. And he wouldn't say, well, listen, why don't you sign the Rock Nation? And I kind of took that as a sign, like, man, like what's happening? Like, what am I doing? And I have a very close friend, he's the owner of American Eagle, and he was the first person to keep it, as the Gen Z says, a thou wow with me. I don't know if they still say that. Keep it a hundo.
They still say that. They still say that. Taylor, I got a Gen Z in. She say, yes, you got a head nod. Yeah, they still say that.
Keep it a hundo with me. He was the first person to say, listen, why don't you think of life outside of Shyne, the rapper? Let's go into business. Let's, be an entrepreneur. Let's, think of something you want to do and I'll support you. And I was like, I was offended. It was like, can't be serious. Like I'm Shyne. Like I'm always be Shyne. But he was right. He was right. Like it wasn't working out. Or at least not the way that I thought it should, at the pace it should. And, but I resisted. But then when I went to Belize, I went to my mom's 60th birthday party. And a lot of friends of the family and different people, because I would always go visit, where I was born, which is a very impoverished community. And I would see how they're living and they're complaining and they're saying, the politicians are worthless. All they do is sell us dreams. They get elected and they turn their back. And then a lot of my colleagues and friends kept saying, listen, why don't you come back to Belize and serve your people? World vision and understanding, and you don't need politics. We need people that aren't doing this for a title, that aren't doing this for notoriety. You're already
Right.
famous. You
Right.
already have a legacy, and your legacy is not telling on your friends. Your legacy is serving 10 years for a crime that somebody else committed because you got character. So that person is not going to get to the House of Representatives, not going to become prime minister or minister and turn their backs on the Belizean people. You're the type of person we need. And I was like, really? You think so? And I said, you know what? Why not? You know, a lot of the older heads, and I'll get into that if we have time a little bit later, maybe the next time I come, because, you know, I just went through like a civil war in my political party where the older heads try to overthrow me because of exactly what I came to do, which was create a new system of political leaders that were there to serve their people and not enrich themselves and not you know, use the taxpayer dollars to take care of their family, friends, and cronies. And when the old heads saw that, they was like, nah, nah, we can't. We no, that's a dub. We can't do that. And but you know me, I'm me, so I'm not gonna go along to get along. You know, I didn't do that when I faced 25 years. I didn't do that when they snitched on me. I always put my integrity, my character, and my dignity first. So I fought the old heads, and you know they tried to overthrow me. It was bloody, and that's how I lost my seat, et cetera, et cetera. But so that's how I got into politics because you know I went back down there to serve,
Right.
and so that was 2000, I'd say 14 or 13, about 12 years ago. And so I got elected in 2020. So people saw when I got elected. People didn't realize that I've been working since 2013, right? So for 7 years, I was working. I was giving away. I'm still giving away the 1,000 school bags. You know, inviting my friends to come to Belize, professors and entrepreneurs, and talk to the poor youth because I believe in revolution of the mind. It's a philosophy that you know how you think and the way you program and feed your brain is what you'll manifest. So if poor children don't believe that they can own a business, if poor children, you know, are mentally impoverished, then they'll continue to be, you know, materially impoverished. You know, so I was doing all of that, you know, athletic activities, and then I got elected to the House of Representatives in 2020, and then shortly after that, the leader of the party, of the United Democratic Party, he found himself in some issues where, you know, he's been accused of some crimes, and so he had to step down. Or we try to get him to, you know, take a break. He didn't want to take a break, so they overthrew him, and then they elected me the leader of the opposition. Then he got himself into some more criminal accusations where he was arrested and charged, and so he had to resign. And then I had a convention to become the leader of the United Democratic Party, and then I became the leader of the House, the opposition leader of the House of Representatives. And when you become a member of Parliament, you know you get a diplomatic passport. And I had all my friends that are in Congress in the United States, you know, inviting me, celebrating my historic victory because I believe I'm the only member of the hip hop community to ever make it to the House of Representatives anywhere, and I believe I'm the only member of the hip hop community to be the leader, the opposition leader of the House of Representatives anyway. That's the highest level. That's like next to the prime minister or next in
Right.
line to be the prime minister. So I think that's where the confusion comes in, where people say,
Right.
is he the prime minister of Belize? Because you know me, I never lose that hip hop. I claim it, I manifest it. So if you know, Murder used to say, sell it, you know, that was his thing, you know, you gotta sell
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And so
Do it.
I was all I would
Do it like you doing it for
yeah, I would,
TV.
if I don't promote me, who's going to promote me? If I don't believe that I'm going to be the next prime minister, who's going to believe that? So I would always tell people, you know, I'm going to be the next prime minister of Belize, and I still have that vision, but in due time, right? You know, right now it's not my time, going to hand over to somebody else. The party, the United Democratic Party, is going to elect someone else because I'm not qualified to run because I lost my seat. So I'm going to make way for someone else, and we see what the future holds. Which brings me to why I'm in New York right now, because I got my visa to work because I did a deal. I guess I'm breaking this here. That I signed a deal with Warner Music Group with my brother Steve-O. I did a joint venture through Defiant Warner Music Group for 3 albums, uh,
Wow.
and then we're gonna do most importantly the 25th anniversary tour.
So
So I'm gonna
so hold on. You dropping? I haven't talked in like 9 minutes
yeah
because first of all, real quick, the journey that you just
yeah
explained that you went on.
yeah.
First of all, you got to do it. You got to do a movie
You better
docu
tell
series
Simon and
if I
Schuster
can.
give me that
Yeah,
book deal, man. I need one of those book
yeah,
deals you
yeah,
got.
yeah. Yo, nigga, this is a docu series, a movie, book,
Oh yeah,
all that shit.
we
Cause
got the TV series coming. We got the motion picture. I
yeah,
did the #1 documentary with Disney. But I just
fam,
did a
yeah,
new
that
deal
documentary.
with
I was gonna get
yeah
into that too, but just give me two
yeah
minutes. Give
yeah
me 2 minutes, real
yeah
quick. Just the journey you've been on, because me knowing you personally is one thing, but for people who just heard what you said, I don't think sometime when people talk, it goes, people hear you, but they don't understand it. So for me and you being around the same age and seeing where you came from and all the people that, are still fans of yours and fans of the show that you watch and hear, etc., is like, bro, you don't even, I don't think that would happen again. Does somebody even be nominated to the House of Representatives just because of how they view hip hop and how sometimes the mystique is ignorant or non-intelligent. And what I explain to people all the time is this, Sean, is that I say, to me, writing an album is harder than writing a movie or writing a school paper or whatever, because you have to make it rhyme and it have to make sense when you rhyme. When I write a movie, it doesn't have to rhyme. So first of all, before anything, you's a street nigga. Not only becoming a street nigga, I seen the documentary. You're gonna talk about a little bit about that too. But then manifesting that into rapping and then going through what you went through as far as your incarceration, then getting deported, then going to Israel, then going to Paris, then having all these rappers come visit you in Paris, but not necessarily offering you record deals. Then one of your niggas be like, yo, we need a nigga like you with the seat. And that journey alone, people don't understand it. And I'm sitting there telling you, I didn't know you went to Israel. I thought you went straight to Belize when you left America. That's why it was important that I didn't even interrupt you. I wanted me to gather all this information. But what I wanted to ask you, and I just want to give you kudos, bro. That's a fucking hell of a journey, man.
yeah.
And I know
Thank
it's still
God.
not done. You're still, yeah, thank God, and you still here. But what I want to talk, what we talked about quickly off camera, and you mentioned it. Um, you mentioned why you're not in the seat now, and you're gonna give somebody else a chance. Two questions I have for you: will you run again, or are you able to run again? Is that something that you want to do, or you feel that, and then you feel like, yo, I served my time doing what I need to do here. I thought it was a great experience. It's somebody else's turn. And secondly, we talked about it off camera, but they take your diplomatic passport once you're not in the seat anymore. But now you have a working visa. So if you're not working, can you still be in America, or you can only be in America while you're working?
Well, absolutely. I'm gonna pursue the House of Representatives again for Mesopotamia. That was the division that I represented. Listen, the civil war that we had in my political organization, it got to a level where it is my position that they committed fraud. We had two people running for the same party, which is illegal. So basically, people didn't know who to vote for. So usually you're supposed to have all the different political organizations have a different color, but they gave two people the same color. They gave two people red. And if you look at the numbers I got in 2020, I got 900 votes. The constituency voted 900 red again. but the person that I think stole the seat from me, I believe it was theft, right? I didn't contest it at the time. I tried to be magnanimous, but it was really theft. But it is what it is. No pun intended. Um, right? But I definitely, I'm working now. I never stopped working, and it's a testament. And I don't want to take credit. I think I'm hip hop. I'm a product of hip hop. I'm a product of the inner city battlegrounds that were created to destroy us through COINTELPRO and all of the, covert operations to destroy us, but made us, the buoyant, prosperous people that just are undefeated and dominate world culture. But I get, my fight definitely from Belize, but it was just taken to another level in Brooklyn. And I'm the epitome of hip hop. We don't give up. We find a way. Hip hop comes from plugging in, from Cool Herc plugging in the turntables that he brought from Jamaica and just, playing music, right? Not much. And people thought it was a fad, and it turned into nothing moves without hip hop. So hip hop is indestructible, and invincible. And so I got that spirit, even when people doubt us, even when people discourage us, even when people count us out. So I'm never giving up on representing my people in Mesopotamia, and I'm never giving up on serving the people in Belize, in one way or the other. But I still believe I have a lot to go as far as public sector service is concerned in the House of Representatives. So I'm definitely not giving up. You don't lose once and give up on your people. I lost on a Wednesday. By Friday, I was back in my constituency helping young entrepreneurs that had asked me for support during the campaign. A youth asked me for, a power washer, for his car wash. And I made sure, even though I lost, I still gave that to him. And a bunch of other people asked for things, and I would spread it out. Every month I would do something, whether it's a laptop or a weed cutter or, a small business grant. I've been doing that for the last 6 months, showing people that, I really loved you guys. I still love you guys. It was a sad situation where you were confused and, it was a lot going on, but I'm not going to give up on you because my love was unconditional. I didn't do it to be in the seat. No matter what, I grew up in Mesopotamia. I was born in Mesopotamia. So I go there like a few days a week and sit outside. Make sure if you ever visit, you go to Philly's. He makes the Philly cheesesteaks and the hot dogs and the burgers. And I sit right there and, just catch a breeze and say hello to everybody and just walk around my constituency. No police, no security, no nothing, because those are my brothers and my sisters and my family, right? So I'm definitely not giving up on that. And I definitely believe that one day I will be the prime minister of Belize. If not, I will continue to serve my country in whatever capacity. If it means private sector, being a philanthropist, definitely look at that. But I'll be politically involved some way because legislation is very important. I will say, you look at President Trump, there's a lot that I admire about him, his resilience, his manifestation of where he wanted to be. We may not see eye to eye on all policies and all ideologies, but he had a vision. He lost when the elections happened in 2020, and immediately he started campaigning and said he didn't lose, and he fought for 4 years, and nobody thought he would win, and he won, right? And so again, I understand why people become legislators and policymakers because that's where all the power is. And for me now, I don't want power and legislative authority to enrich myself, as I said earlier, or to enrich family and friends. I want legislative authority because now we go back to the 25th anniversary of the Shyne album, Dear America, I'm only what you made me. I was crying
Right.
to the system in that stanza, in that poem, because you talked about writing an album is more difficult. Listen, we the real PhDs. those are
Right.
dissertations right there. What we write, what we put
Talk to him.
together, we the real professors.
Talk to him. There you
And,
go.
and so, but if you listen to Dear America, I was crying to the system. So to have an opportunity to be the system, so that that young Shyne, boy or girl, man or woman, that's struggling, that needs a state that understands that you don't want to create dependency. But sometimes people need some crutches just until they can walk, and then you want to create an environment where they can be empowered and they can do for themselves, because then that's going to help the economy and that's going to help everybody. But
Right.
you need people with integrity to run your government. Like right now in Belize, we have a terrible government, a bunch of multimillionaires that just care about themselves and don't understand what it's like to go to sleep drinking water so that you can, still your stomach. Don't know what it's like to go days without eating and eating bread, and as a treat you might put some sweet milk on it. We have a government in Belize that is disconnected from reality. And so the people in Belize are suffering. They're going through it. But then with me, the vision that I brought to the table, I could never let the people suffer, because I remember what it's like. Right now I'm in New York and I take the train because, I love going through that nostalgic journey of remembering when I was on the train delivering messages, and, people were looking at me like I would never be anything and I was a scum of the earth, but I was dreaming. I was dreaming. I saw it. I seen it like a zenith. Respect to my God, Ghost and Raekwon. I seen it like a zenith, and I knew what I wanted to do, and that's why this is the greatest country on earth. Because only in America you can go from being an immigrant in Belize with talent, to being a multi-millionaire. I took you all over the world, but
Nah, but it needs all that needed to be said.
but as far as being here, I work and live here, as much as I want, But I obviously my wife and my daughter in Belize, and so school is very important for my daughter to be in Belize. So I don't at this time I don't feel like transplanting the family here. So I just come here to work, and get things done, and then go back to Belize and make sure everything is okay. But I'm allowed to work, and live here as long as I'm doing what I'm supposed to do with Warner Music Group and the tour, and I got the 3 albums, yeah, everything.
That's what I was about to allude to, because I cut you off before you made your announcement, because I just had to give you I didn't you schooled me on a bunch of shit that I didn't know when I thought I knew. And I just wanted to give you your props, but I didn't want to interrupt the announcement you had to make. So just so we know, you're saying that we're about to get new Shyne music and a tour to go with it on the 25th anniversary of your first album. Is that what you're saying?
Well, the 25th anniversary of the Shyne album came out 2000, um, 2000, 19 so sorry, it came out 2000 September. The Shine album came out 2000 September 26. Yes. So 25 years since that came out. And so to commemorate the 25th anniversary of the Shine album, we're going to do a 25th anniversary tour. So that's the crowning announcement. The ancillaries would be, remember we had the bio documentary, The Honorable Shine. So I always wanted to do the Honorable album, similar to how Jay-Z did American Gangster for the American Gangster movie. So instead of doing a soundtrack, do an actual album. So we're going to work on that, and then we are going to do 2 more albums because we have a TV series coming out. I want to do something similar, to Narcos, Power, BMF, House of Cards,
Right.
because Belize right now, the Prime Minister of Belize, his father was convicted of drug trafficking while he was a member of Parliament. He was the Minister of Civil Aviation, and he used to use the airport allegedly to bring in the heroin from from Venezuela and Colombia to the airport in Belize. Um, so it's alleged that the prime minister comes from a cartel family, from a narco family, because not only was his father convicted, but his uncle and I believe cousin, they were indicted as well, but they never got them in America. So to me, that's motion picture right there. And when you juxtapose that to, the crack cocaine era in the 80s, which is when, this gentleman was trafficking drugs as a member of parliament, to me, that makes for pretty exciting TV, right? And then when everything that we talked about, to see that play out, I think it's different than a documentary, it's different than a book to see, a scripted series play all of this out, all that we just discussed, I think is going to be riveting. When you go through everything, when you go through we didn't even start talking about Bad Boy. We didn't even start talking about, Pac and and the hit on Pac and what happened to Bi and all the different things and Club New York and the victim saying that it wasn't me that shot her and there's a lot to unpack there. And I think that's a good 100 episodes in my humble opinion,
Right.
right? And so
Absolutely.
that's the vision.
This could turn into
I think
seasons.
I think with the right team, and so obviously Steve-O, that's my partner. Defiant, Warner Music Group. Those are my partners, and with the right team, I think we're going to make some good product. But what I want to do is I want to create new music for the TV series. So not a soundtrack,
Okay.
but an album, right?
Right.
And then for the motion picture, we'll do another album. So
No,
yeah.
that's super dope. Well, congrats on the 25-year anniversary of the album. I'm pretty sure not just me, a bunch of niggas is gonna be excited that you putting some new music out. And more than the music, we got to get the schedule of the motherfucking tour because niggas is popping out for
Yeah,
the
so
tour
so so
100%.
respect to Live Nation. I'm working
Yep.
with Live Nation, to put those tour dates together. I hope
Yo.
that we could announce that I'm gonna see you and I'm gonna see Mace on stage.
Oh yeah, listen.
a- a-
Listen, let me tell you
Definitely
something.
in New
Let me
York.
tell
There's
you
no way
something.
I could perform in New
I,
York and not have you on
I,
stage.
I, you ain't got no
Yeah.
problem. I will be there. I
And then
cannot
me
speak
and
for
Mace.
Mr.
Well,
Mason
me
Bedford.
and Mace got a song together. So I don't know if he's retired,
Yeah.
and I respect the retirement thing. Because definitely, when I was
Yeah.
in the House of Representatives, I definitely did not feel that it was appropriate to be performing. The only reason I did the BET Awards was because that was bigger than me. That was about Belize. Belize is paradise.
Right.
Besides having a terrible government right now, we have stakeholders and we have civil society that works to keep our democracy together, and we have my political organization that does our best to keep them in check. But we have the most pristine beaches. Is paradise. There's not a better place to go and vacation. So I always take it as my responsibility to promote Belize, to promote the tourism product. I believe the tourism minister does a great job, even though we're from different political organizations. Whatever platform, just as I'm doing now, everybody make sure you go and visit Belize. I'm building condos down there. I got resorts down there. So just let me know when you want to come
Yo.
down, and I'll host you, Cam. That goes for
Nick,
Mace. That goes for.
I was just
You
about
want
to
to come
say,
shoot down
I was
there?
just about to say, I hope you ain't just, I'm about to say, I hope you're not just inviting the casual
No, no,
audience.
no.
Nigga,
I'm inviting you.
it's a private convo,
Yeah,
nigga.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm coming down
So,
there.
so,
Absolutely, I'm
so,
coming.
so that's why I did the BET Awards. We dropped the Belizean flag, and we promoted Belize. So I excused it with that, but I wasn't interested in returning to the stage. Well, now that I'm not in the House of Representatives, I think, and it's the 25th anniversary, I think it's appropriate. I think nobody gets 25th anniversary status very easily. Shyne is a classic album. A lot of people love that album, and a lot of people have been missing me for 25 years. I haven't performed in the States really a full-fledged concert in 25 years. So I think it's going to be something spectacular, and definitely having my friends like you come out and support. We're going to give them a great Shyne experience. So I'm more excited about the 25th anniversary tour than anything else right now. But definitely the new albums to accompany the projects, because I want to be clear, I'm not rapping just to rap. I'm not performing just to perform. This is legacy. We're celebrating 25 years, and to be around for 25 years. I know I've seen you on the show say that, you know, a lot of people coming from Bad Boy didn't make it. So for me to be here, thriving, not surviving, but thriving and in a position where we could celebrate, in a position where I could invite you to Belize and host you on one of those private islands. You know, Jay Prince got a few private islands down there. Is a blessing. And so the
Yeah.
25th anniversary tour is going to be a celebration of hip hop, a celebration of the blessings, and it's going to be a great experience. I really, really look forward, to going around the United States. We're going to start in the United States, and then we'll probably go to Europe and go to Africa.
Congratulations, bro. That's, like I said, it's fucking dope to hear. And of course, the music, the all the projects you have going on the tour. But I'm coming to check that beachfront property out, man. Just let me know when I'm invited. I'm
Listen,
coming down.
it's a
Get to
standing,
one of
it's
them
a
Shyne
standing
condos for the
invitation.
weekend, man.
Just give me a
Thank
couple
you.
days so I could make
I,
sure everything
yeah.
is
Oh yeah. I'm
situated.
gonna
But
give you a couple weeks.
it's a
I'm
standing
gonna take you
invitation.
up on the offer. Listen, early in the interview, you said this a couple times, and this is one of the questions I wanted to get to, because I know you're in a different place in your life than you was 25, 30 years ago. And you mentioned in a couple times how much when you ran, how you stood on not telling and doing your 10 years and being the stand-up guy that you are. Is that still your mindset today, 30 years later?
Uh, at this age, at this stage, I'm a law-abiding citizen, and I have to do what is right, to protect the innocent and to preserve justice. So that was a different Shyne. Now as a father, as a statesman, I'm law abiding. I have no code. I have no street code. I have to do what's right. And so whatever's right, when it comes to protecting innocent civilians and, preserving justice, that's what I stand for. And even then, that's what I stood for. Uh, I don't believe in getting people in trouble to get myself out of trouble. And I was a different person then. I was a kid that grew up in the streets, and that's what I knew. That was my doctrine. But now I'm a statesman. I'm a leader of a country. Even if I'm not in the House of Representatives, people still look to me. People still believe in me, and that's not what I promote. That's not what I stand for. I promote everyone being law-abiding citizens. But for people that are in that life, it's up to them how they choose to proceed. I still don't agree that if you chose a certain life, you should betray your code to get yourself out of trouble if you chose that life. That's just a matter of integrity. But I'm not a
Right.
part of that life. I am a
Right.
law-abiding citizen. I am, about the community. I'm about humanity. I'm about the people. I don't want anything negative to happen to anyone. And so, whatever I have to do to protect the community and to make sure that there's citizen security in Belize and citizen security anywhere, I'm definitely a part of the state and a part of the government to do what's right. Because definitely
Yeah.
sometimes even the governments in different parts of the world may take advantage of the people. So I'm always about, as I said, preserving justice on either side.
Dope. That's what's up. So, for our younger audience that don't know, and Shyne just broke it down to us. And first of all, he has a super dope. I actually watched it twice on Hulu and Disney as well. What's the name of your doc? Just so I make sure the audience knows.
The Honorable Shyne.
The Honorable Shyne, one of the best documentaries I've probably seen in the last 4 or 5 years.
Thank you. Thank
Like I
you.
sadon't even watch shit 2, 3 times. I watched the shit twice, and I'm
Thank you,
gonna
my
watch
brother.
it again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Nah, not a problem, bro. Like, nigga, I don't like a lot of people. I fuck with you, my nigga.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you, my brother.
Nah, come on, man. For the people that don't know, that's a little younger, Shyne was signed to Bad Boy, and I talked about this in the intro. It was a situation where Puff and Shyne were in the club. A female got shot. Shyne ended up doing 10 years. Puff ended up not doing any time. And we're going to leave the young lady's name out of this. But I seen something where she talked about where she says she still felt the way towards you and Puff. And she said that, I won't say who, but she said you didn't shoot her. So that's what you was talking about earlier, just for our audience to catch up when he was saying going to jail for 10 years for something that he didn't do. Have you ever spoken to her after you got out or reached out to her? Because she said that you guys knew each other in Brooklyn before this incident even happened.
Yeah, I knew her through again Imani Haley. She was a aspiring musician as well, and so we had been in the studio on occasion, but I hadn't had the opportunity to do any direct outreach except through intermediaries. But definitely, I take this opportunity to wish her the best, and I'm definitely remorseful for whatever pain and suffering she endured, even though she has admitted that I was not the cause of that pain, that somebody else was the one that shot her. I'm still remorseful for all that she had to go through and all that anybody had to go through. My mom, I broke my mother's heart, her having to see me incarcerated wrongfully, held in captivity. But definitely, I wish, that person the very best in life.
No, that's what's up. Um, it's a great answer as well. Um, you didn't immediately go to jail. Of course, you bailed out is in between the time you're gonna go to trial or getting ready for trial or going to court, etc. Did you have any problems because of that incident until your incarceration? Was it threats? Were people saying, "Yo, you fucked up for doing that"? Yo, why you shoot? What was the process in between that night and the time you got sentenced?
Definitely, my there were concerns, there was danger. Obviously, Puff had an altercation with guys that I knew from Brooklyn. Scar, he passed away. I think he was killed years ago. But Scar and that entire Brooklyn crew, they were not people to underestimate. They were not people to take for granted. So when they started saying that, they're gonna, pop your top, and when I saw someone reaching for a weapon, I acted in self-defense. But there wasn't my problem. It was Puff's problem. He was the one that was arguing with them, and I was just being a good friend because I saw a danger. And all it takes is a second. All it takes, are inches, and you could, it'd be the difference between you being expired and you being here. And I always, at that point, preferred to be, tried by 12 than carried by 6. Obviously, that's not my position now. Unless it comes to my daughter and my wife and my family. Obviously, you protect your family. But I prefer to leave things into the hands of the authorities. But at that time, I had a
As you should, as we all
yeah.
should
At,
at this
at
age,
that time, at
100%.
that time, I was young, and I just, we just had a shootout in front of Daddy's house, and I had a altercation, physical altercation. So that was the only reason I was, carrying protection. Um, but yeah, so that's how that situation went out. So there was definitely concerns, and those guys from Brooklyn, because I was defending myself against them, at least one or two of them still felt the way about it, and still wanted to pursue, whatever revenge they felt fit.
Got you. And after you got signed, so just real quick, RIP to the big homie Wolf. When you got signed with Bad Boy, I used to see Wolf a lot with Puff. And then I see Wolf a lot with you when you got signed to Bad Boy. And I was like, oh, that's, he fuck with Shyne. He like that nigga style. You guys used to be together a lot. Where was like Wolf when the whole trial was going on? Did you still stay in communication with him? Was you was like, this was my guy because he was Puff's guy? What was that situation like? Because like I said, I was out personally and used to see you with Wolf as your friend as well.
No, Wolf was my big brother. No doubt about it. Obviously I met him through Puff, but he became my big brother. Obviously kindred spirits, cut from the same cloth. And once it's a rare cloth. It's a rare breed. So, usually in the industry, it's a bunch of plants and, a bunch of characters. So to actually meet someone that's cut from your cloth, you have to embrace that. And so he definitely embraced me as a little brother. He used to call me Shyne, because I always found a way, no matter what. I found a way, and if it wasn't for Wolf, there would have never been a Shyne album. Because when the situation happened in Club New York, Puff and I don't know if it was Clive Davis, I don't know if it was, a BMG, I don't know who it was, but they wanted to release me. They wanted to drop me, because Puff's strategy was to say that, well, I don't know that guy. He acted on his own. And so, there was talk of that. When I got arrested and charged, they wouldn't even bail me out. I remember calling Daddy's house, saying, listen, could you get me out? Again, my guy, Monty Haley, he was in the documentary. He's the one that bailed me out. He put up his
Yeah,
house.
Manny's my man, and shout out to Manny and RP to his wife who just
Yes,
passed away
yes,
was
yes,
really
yes,
my
yes,
homegirl
yes,
too.
Rip Yolanda.
Yeah, like Manny's one of the best niggas you will ever meet in the
Yeah.
world, man. I heard you mention him a few times, but I didn't want to go
No,
by
that's my guy.
another
That's my
time
guy.
without meeting him and shot.
To this day,
Yeah,
we
that's my guy
still,
too.
all the time,
Right,
if I'm ever in Los Angeles, just on some brother, even if we don't do business, because obviously he's in the film business now, and
right.
we're close, but it didn't matter to him whether he did the documentary or not. He was all in favor of getting, an extremely generous check from Disney, because obviously, he wants the best for me. But he's the one that bailed me out. So from day one, Puff's position was, to let me sink and, that I'm on my own. And so when we were on trial, Wolf is the only one, that I was in communication with, because when I did bail out, my thing was I need to go to the studio. I need to finish my album. There's no way that I'm going to come from where I came from Belize, from Carousel Street, where we didn't even have a toilet system, to Brooklyn, where, I was eating, bread and water sometimes because my mom was so poor. And, she was just doing her best to try and make sure that, we had a roof over our head. I didn't even have my own room. I slept on the couch until I moved out because, my mom, she slept in the dining room. Like she put her bed in the dining room. And then, my bed was in the living room on the couch. That's how I grew up. And to go from that, to get $1 million deal, and then to have the opportunity to have my dream come true. It's not even about the money. It's about having your dream come true. As an artist, as a performer, you want to go on stage and you want to share your art with people. You want to be the voice of people that can't speak because all of my friends were either in jail or died or still struggling in the streets. So I wanted to be their voice. And as you listen to the Shyne album, I'm always crying out for help because I know that that's a path to death at an early age or incarceration. So for me to not have that dream come true, because everybody doesn't get to go where I go, especially from Belize. That was Wolf, because I used to call Wolf and, complain and say, listen, I'm facing 25 years. I'm not cooperating. The DA wants me to cooperate. The DA wants Puff. The DA does not want Shyne. The DA wants Puff. How are you going to let me just sink? How are you going to let me just wither away? I need my album to come out. And he's the one that, stayed on top of Puff and said, listen, you got to put his album out. But that was the layup or the pass because I had to go in the studio and perform, and I got to give my guy Nashim Merrick, Nash, he gave me the life beat. My life had its ups and downs, but I don't regret nothing. And when they heard that, because I heard it and I went and I recorded it. I picked all the songs on Shyne album. I picked all the beats. I did everything on my own because they just did it because Wolf told them to do it. They didn't want nothing to do with me. They didn't even want me around. They just like, all right,
Right.
let them make the album and let's just get rid of them.
Yeah, go about your
But when
business.
they heard the music, they were
It
like,
was undeniable.
oh man, this is gonna go.
Yeah, they couldn't
Yeah,
they couldn't
this
deny
is
it.
gonna go.
They couldn't
This is gonna go,
they
right?
couldn't
But
deny it.
Wolf, Wolf,
Yep.
if it wasn't for Wolf, I'm not sure I would have came out with the album.
Nah, that's what's up. R.P. to Wolf, man. Good,
Yes.
good
Rest in
nigga,
peace
man.
to Wolf. His mom passed away, Miss Jones, as well.
Yes.
His brother.
Yep. R.P. Yeah,
RZA
condolences.
passed away, obviously, in that incident that Wolf passed away. So, yeah, life is short,
Right.
and that's why we got to celebrate
Yeah,
this
man.
25th anniversary because a lot of our
Absolutely.
loved ones out here.
Absolutely. And listen, man, I'm gonna tell you now, I ain't gonna hold you to it, but you gotta get you and Mace, I need y'all two niggas to talk. Cause listen, if well, I got so many questions, and then another thing you did, you answered about, I'm going through my questions, and you answered 60% of the questions without me even having to ask the questions you already gave me the answers to. So let me ask you 2-3 more questions. The first one is, we seen you a few years ago with Puff, embracing, hugging when you came over here, sitting in the chair. And then maybe a year or two ago, I think it's the first time I heard you say, well, I didn't shoot the girl. Or maybe the first time Cam heard you say it.
Yeah.
With that being said, where's your relationship at today now with Puff?
We don't have a relationship at this time, but I wish him the best. I pray for the victims as well. Obviously, there was a trial. The jury spoke. Judge is going to make his determination. And I wish everybody the best. I was incarcerated for 10 years. I don't wish that on anyone. I have redeemed myself. I have rehabilitated myself. I have reformed, so I know that that is possible. I'm a beneficiary of second chances, so I wish that for everyone. But I understand and I appreciate victims, just as I, made my outreach to a victim who I didn't even injure. Certainly in this case, I pray for Cassie, and I pray for anybody else that took the position that they were wrong. So my thing is just wishing everybody well and praying for everybody. I don't have the bandwidth or the space in my realm to fixate on people. I have so much to do as far as, getting ready for this 25th anniversary tour, so much to do in Belize with tourism, so much to do in Belize with my political organization, to do with my constituency. But I'm at a place just wishing everybody the best, praying for the victims, praying for justice. And as I said, I got a second chance. I rehabilitated myself. Everything will take its course.
Real quick, when is the tour, the music? Are we working? Do you have dates or roundabout dates, or that's still to be announced and you're just letting everybody know?
So as I said, I've been working for the last couple of months to make sure I got all of my papers and all of my documents to be able to come here and work and get all of this done as a writer, producer, publisher, performer. So I had to work on that first, and I didn't want to do this without that being taken care of because I still have people that would want to undermine me and want to do whatever to stifle me. So I wanted to make sure that I was in a position to tell people with certainty, and what better place to do it than here so that everybody could see that I'm here. They could hear from you that you gonna be on stage with me, and I got a bunch of other friends. So literally, I meet with Live Nation tomorrow, And so by the time I come back on the show, I'll have the exact date. But we're looking at, you need at least 60 days,
Yep.
I think, to promote. I would think, I don't know, I've been out the game for 25 years, but I think we need at least 60 days.
Okay.
So we're
No,
looking
that's
at
what's up. I'm
December.
just excited. I want to know when this shit is happening.
Yeah, yeah, first week. So I
That's
say the
what's up,
first week
man.
of December.
Congratulations again, man. I'm gonna get you out of here on this. Now listen,
Yeah.
man. I'm gonna tell you like this. So me and mates, all of us grew up. We all grew up together. I'm talking about basketball, single digit age, 8, 9, 10 years old. When Harlem World came out, we all kind of fell out. We all, young niggas trying to get $2, this, that, and the third. So I missed the Harlem World album because of us arguing at 19, 20, 21 years old. So I'm just so happy that me and my brother, my nigga Murder Mace, and we're at the point we're at, the age we're at, and we can laugh at some of the shit. Like we sit here on this show, on our show, and we sit there and talk about the diss records we made towards each other. And we'll be like, nah, you caught that ball. Or you be like, yo, you caught that ball, but it wasn't true. Well, Cam, it don't matter if the people believed it. That's all I said, yeah, well, that's why I made up 2 bars about you. Shit like that, just to be at the age to reminisce and be like, yo, we're still here. Like I like the word you used earlier, thriving. It's amazing. So we're sitting here one day talking, and listen, Hud is like my brother, Huddy Combs. I'm talking about like when I wasn't at my mom's house and my grandmom's, and I wanted to kind of hang out because his mom understood we was trying to do RP Miscellane, RP Hud. I lived in Hud house about 4 or 5 days a week growing up. I'm talking about my whole high school. So we know the kind of character the nigga Hud is. So me and Mace was up here talking. I don't know how I came up. And we was like, yo, Shyne is from Brooklyn. How did he get the Poe name attached to Shyne Poe? How did it become Shyne Poe? And we wasn't even talking to Mace. And Mace was like, that nigga Hud, man. I said, what are you talking about, Murder? He like, Hud threw the fucking Poe name on Shyne, and he was Shyne Poe ever since then. He said, we in Atlanta. I'm telling Hud, come with me. He told me, I'll see you later. I'm going out with Shyne tonight. And I'm looking at Hud. This is what Mason. I'm looking at Hud like, my nigga, but we know Hud. We know his personality. And he was like, that's all that running around with Shyne and shit. I said, so I'm confused because I wasn't around for this portion. He like, I said, so wait a minute. Hud was running around with Shyne. He said, Cam, you know this nigga, Cam. Yeah, he was running him and Shyne was best friends for 2 minutes. And I was asking him why he ain't at the studio. Could you validate if that's true or not and tell me anything that you like to say about my brother Huddy Combs before we get out of here?
I mean, rest in peace, man. But definitely Huddy was one of my guys, and he definitely hit me with the Poe moniker. That definitely came from the
His
Mace,
camp.
the Mace conglomerate. That they put that on me, and so so a lot of people don't know, like Mace embraced me, and that's how a song came about.
Right.
Start from scratch. Me and Puff almost came to blows over that song because initially I was like, start from scratch. I'd signed a Def Jam, Hustle with Russ, a
Right.
couple of million advance, and I was
Right.
on and that leaked.
Right.
That was on Double Up, right? But Mace definitely embraced me. Initially, we had a little rocky start because of a certain, R&B diva, but I guess I'll leave that for when,
Yeah.
he
When,
and
yeah,
I.
when you come back, when
When I come back,
Yeah, when you come
it
back.
is what it is. Yeah, but yeah. So, but
Right.
he really embraced me. Like I definitely, I got to give it to Mace. He embraced me at a certain stage, and that's how I got with Hud. And but I got to give it to this woman. She's a woman.
Yeah.
She's probably our age now. Probably a little bit older, but she used to be Alpo's girlfriend. So I gotta give it really to her. She used to be like, this is Alpo, like this kid is Alpo. I had a little
Right.
bit more weight then, and I just everything, they felt that,
Yeah. It
the
was shit
swagger,
was matching up.
the
Shit was
bop,
matching up.
just everything. And then
Yeah.
I was a wild boy. I was definitely,
Yeah.
I was on one, and it was that, but that's why I always made the disclaimer though. I'm
Yeah,
Alpo
yeah,
before he
very
snitched,
clear,
dog.
very clear.
So I
Right.
always make that clear, right? That there's a difference between him and I. But as far as the young, reckless, just aggressive, she was the one that really hit me with the pole. And then, like I said, the Harlem World crew.
Yeah, yeah. I gotta get you and Mace to talk for at least 10, 15 minutes. I just want to be a fly on the wall, man. But listen, Paul, I just want to tell you, first of all, congratulations on the new music, on the tour and everything else that you have coming along. But bigger congratulations on all the accomplishments that you made after your incarceration. Because if you sit there and think about it, and for people that watch the doc, or when you get a chance to watch the doc, if you haven't seen already, your journey, and we didn't even get the chance to talk about how you delivering papers or doing what you had to do in the street until you end up getting a record deal. And to be honest with you, even though you got the record deal, your biggest accomplishments to me, after us sitting here talking for the last hour or so, is after you got out of jail. And they're still going on and the blessings are still happening. So I just want to tell you congratulations. Forget the music on being the nigga that you are today and all the accomplishments that you had, and for you to still be thriving at this age in life and all the stuff you've been through, nigga. Salute. And I can't thank you enough, and thank you, man, definitely.
Amen.
I appreciate you.
Amen. Amen.
Thank
I
you.
feel the same way about you.
Thank you, bro.
Congratulations on all your success and you and Mace working together and moving the
Right.
culture. You moving the needle. I don't really know what's happening. So I told someone I was going to be on,
Yeah.
with
Yeah, yeah.
Flea, and it is what it is. And it was like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
they
Listen,
they
bro.
moving the
Like,
culture. So
like you just said,
definitely
man, I've been on here
congratulations.
several times, give you a shot. Because anytime I wear, today's our casual Friday. So we wear suits during the week. Anytime I wear my fitted with the suit, it's Shyne Poe Day. Every day. Every time, man.
Yeah.
So Shyne,
Yeah.
I appreciate you, man.
That's right.
And I want to
That's right.
thank everybody out there for tuning into another episode of Talk with Flea.